All right, let's talk about it. This topic is interesting, and I'm going to explain a little bit of background about how this came about. Why did I even do this? Why would I? Well, here's the deal. Here's what happened, folks. I was preparing for the class called Emotions Through the Harp, and I wanted to see what AI, artificial intelligence. I went to ChatGPT and I said, "Hey, what emotions would you assign to the blues scale notes?" And you see the thumbnail there. Now, I'm going to try something I've never done. Let's see if it's still available to do it even. But basically, I'm going to try to see if I can't bring up the image. I might have messed it up and I can't. But if you look at the image, basically you'll see that each note is assigned a specific emotion. And I can just tell you what that is without bringing it up if I can't bring it up. And I'll post a link to this little image if you really want it. But basically, it talks about these 6 notes. We're not counting the last note of the scale. It's the same as the first, the tonic note. This is an A harmonica. And here's what it said. And I want to explore this with you just a little bit. Maybe it'll give you something to think about. It's not always about like taking it for face value and saying, well, obviously it's artificial intelligence, but like seeing if you agree with some of this and then seeing what you might disagree with. So here's what it says. The root note, sense of home, foundation. I agree. Don't disagree with that. It's also the key that you're playing in, so that makes sense, right? Second note here. We got that nice minor third, is it? The 3-draw half step bend says sadness, soulful, or yearning. I totally agree with that. So I'm looking at this when I'm preparing. I'm like, well, this is kind of interesting. So far, I agree. What does it say about 4-blow? This I was most curious about because 4-blow doesn't really. I think it's harder to assign emotion to that note. It's not a bend. It's not coming from a bend. For example, 4-draw, or it's one of those notes, the root of the 4 chord. So I started to think, what is AI actually analyzing? Is it analyzing the note within the complete progression, right? Or is it talking about just from the perspective of the 1 chord? Because it said tension builder. And I could see where that would be true. And we're going to explore each one of these notes together in just a second. Then for the 4 bend, gritty, edgy, restless. Okay, I thought that was okay. I call that one more of a tension builder. Or developing heightened emotion. And then 4-draw, strength or release of tension. Not bad. I mean, limited, but not a bad description. And finally, 5-draw, same as the 2 full step bend. These scale notes. It said funky, cool, and laid back. I didn't totally disagree with it. Now let's take a track and see what these notes feel like. So if you got an A harmonica, you can do this with me. Here's home, sense of home, 2-draw. 3 half step bend, sadness, soul or yearning. Back to home. Let's bring the 4-blow in. 4 bend. 4-draw. 5-draw. So what? And then it makes me think, like, so what happens when you combine quickly some of these notes that it's assigning, the emotion to? What does that really? Isn't that confusing for like somebody trying to learn to play music by thinking about this sort of analogy or method of thinking about the notes as just these specific emotions? First of all, I think it's too limited. We can't just say that one specific scale note creates one emotion. I don't agree with that. I also think that when you start to combine a few of these notes, you're creating a combination of emotions sometimes, like tension and release, right? And what if I play them all? Do I get a sense of home and edginess and funkiness and release and edginess, and do I get all that? I don't know. I think that it's deeper than that, but it's a cool way to at least explore this concept of thinking about these note choices as certainly a way to guide emotion. I would say that. Let me see if anybody's here today. Good morning if you are. And I've been messing around with this idea of using AI, maybe some discussion here and there, harmonica stuff that I might want to like draw a different perspective out of, like for a class. But really, mostly I'm just using it to create more structure and organization in some of the notes that I've already created. I'm not asking it to create my classes, I promise. But it's cool to use it as a tool in a way. It starts getting your brain thinking outside of the box of arbitrarily playing, a scale note versus really taking a minute to consider the emotion you want to develop. So that was just an icebreaker, that this topic of, AI and the blues scale. I thought it was kind of interesting. My source went away. It's gone. I created I'm not very good with OBS, but I could try to do it in the moment here. Let's see. This is dangerous. But I'm happy to just put, you know what? I'm happy to just go ahead and, what's the word? I'm happy to take the image and just share it through a link if you really want the image that it created. You can see it in the thumbnail though. And it's kind of interesting. So last thing I want to do, good morning, everybody who is tuning in. What's up, Thomas? Sweden harmonica. Welcome, flying harp. What instrument am I playing? I am playing a diatonic harmonica in the key of A. It is a Marine Band Deluxe, which is probably what you were asking. Marine Band Deluxe, just a standard, out of the box Marine Band Deluxe. So, how accurate and true is this stuff if we take it a step further? Let's go back to where I was. So here's this backing track. Just a slow blues in E, right? I would certainly say that the 4 bend is beyond gritty, edgy, and restless. It's a tension-building, highly emotional, more of that soulful, mournful feel. Like if I land on 2 full steps, I would also say to you that we're talking second position, I would also say that the 2 full step bend is beyond funky, cool, and laid back. I would say it's a tension building note. Same with 5 draw. So if I just go to that note, I can use it to start to build tension. Not as intense as the tension on like a 4 bend or maybe even in the 3 half step range where we get more emotion out of that. That's more crying, and I agree with that, sadness and soulful. But the 4 bend is more tension building. The 5 is like a slow build almost, like if you just hold 5 draw. You will release the tension by going to the root note on that 6th blow. So I kind of think of the 5 draw as a more flexible, and the 2 full step bend as a more flexible note when I'm working with second position. It's a great note that people are, for some reason, avoiding all the time. So if you're avoiding that note, don't avoid the note. Use 5 draw to begin ideas. It's a wonderful way to break the rut, because I think a lot of people just don't use it. So And in this class that I just did, which you can still grab, I'll put a link to it in the video description, but emotion through the harp, we did a lot. We did a lot of listening. We talked about how you can use techniques to deliver an emotion. But one of the things that I'll share with you guys that I shared in class that I think is the most important thing that's overlooked, and it's so basic or elementary in the process that I think that's why it's overlooked, but it's actually could be the number one thing that's the problem. If you think about your connection to the harmonica, your embouchure, if it's not really secure and tight, like two wires that are conducting electricity, the connection's weak. And so I think a lot of people have a weak connection to the harp. That's what I think's going on. And therefore they don't have a strong emotional connection because they can't find the tone that they want. Therefore they develop insecurities and they get nervous, and then it's just like, I don't know if I want to be heard. But when you get the right connection to the harmonica, tongue block or pucker, and you develop a really solid sound coming out of the instrument that you can then shape and control, that's a whole different story. That's a whole nother world. And in the world of puckering, one of the tips I gave in class was you are likely, even if you're doing a nice pucker, to get a shape, right, to create the shape for the single note, you might not be creating the pressure inward needed. So when you're playing as a pucker player or tongue block, same thing, take this hand that holds the harmonica and create slight pressure in to fully seal your lips around the note you're trying to get. And what happens is that seal is what's going to really, and that pressure in is going to develop a bigger sound that's easier to control and shape. So that's what I noticed was like, I hear people playing and I'm like, that's what's missing. Until they get past that, there's no way that they're going to be able to shape sound and create beautiful vibratos and control their bends the way that they'd like. It starts with this connection to the instrument, where you can create strong notes and big sound first. So just directing air. Second ingredient would definitely be air, and that's the thing to consider is what is your airflow doing. And if you just start with that when you're thinking about playing more emotionally, I know I'm bringing this topic up a lot lately, but it's a big topic. It's important. I think you'll get a lot of traction from that. So that's my tip today is like, sure, it's fun to look at the AI suggested emotions for the blues scale. That's kind of interesting, but that was more of an icebreaker to talk about the emotional side of playing and really trying to say less until you can say more with less. So leave more space and play fewer notes and really try to get a sound that makes you feel something. It's silly to say it almost like that, but that's what it is. People are not believing what they're playing and they're on to the next note hoping they'll believe that note. In a way, that's kind of what I think. So get a straight connection to the harmonica. What are we at here? I've been on here for approximately 15, 14 minutes, whatever it is. Let's leave with a little track here of some emotional playing, shall we? Let's move this track much further down the line. Dynamic range was a huge part of this class too. was a pretty big miss that I had there. Let's talk about that. Maybe you'll learn something from my mistakes. I went for this little lick. Something weird that I would never play, by the way. I always try to reach when I'm playing for something just that's outside of my reference of like patterns that I would play. And I went. And on the way down, the first time I played that lick, I wanted to go something like that. That was what I heard and saw pattern wise. And what happened was something something awful, which is cool, right? Because you can hear that like, and what did I do when I made it? I didn't let it distract me when I made the mistake. I went for it again. So I just played it again and I got it the second time. It was pretty ugly. But again, that's cool. This is, I think in a way that's one of the benefits of doing a live stream when you're jamming and doing shit is that you can see that, everyone has their moments. So even people that have been playing a long, long time and teaching harmonica can have moments of being human, making an error, and that's totally cool. The key is to not let it bug you when you're actually playing. Let that go by. Let go all that stuff and just let it cruise and play. So that's what I got today. Have fun exploring the emotional side of your playing and develop it. It's so important because without that, why are we even doing, what are we doing with music, right? So that comes first. And I will be back soon with something totally different coming up. Don't forget this month is Adam Gusso joining me. We are co-teaching a class, June 14th, Lessons from the Journey. It's going to be awesome because we always have a great time co-teaching, and we've developed this class around specific core lessons that we learned in our journey and then extracted them as teachable little micro lessons that we can share with you. Hopefully some tangible takeaways as well, like notes that you can actually practice to understand what we're talking about, not just like yapping the whole time. So it's going to be a good class. You can check that out at Harmonica 123 right on the homepage of harmonica123.com. And I appreciate all the members on my YouTube channel checking in today. And if you're a member at Harmonica 123 where you've got access to all my classes, thank you for checking that out. Appreciate you. And I'll see you soon. I just have that feeling. Make it a great day. And don't forget to subscribe, like the video if you're so inclined. Make it a good one.